PowerTech fans, we're headed to the Coaches Site Live. Join us June 12th to 14th in Ann Arbour at the University of Michigan for the premier coaching event of the year. Coaches, if you're serious about getting better, TCS Live is your one-stop shop. You'll be surrounded by some of the sharpest minds in hockey from the NHL, NCAA, CHL, and international levels, all sharing real actionable coaching strategies in a way that's actually engaging. I got a small taste of this year at their St. Andrews College event, and it was unreal. The presenters were top-notch, and the coaches were all super dialed in and hungry to learn. But this is going to be a 10x experience. Beyond the elite presentations, you'll have two massive networking socials, a prime opportunity to connect, share ideas, and build relationships that can elevate your career and coaching skill set. And for PowerTech, we'll be there too. We'll be hanging out, connecting with coaches, and recording some live podcasts. So if you're a listener, you can come up and say hi and we can talk hockey. Don't miss this opportunity. Head to thecoachesitelive.com right now and use code PowerTech to save 10% on your ticket. We're super fired up to be involved with this event, and we'll see you guys there. Have you tried the iced tea one yet?
She's going around, huh? No.
You know what? Since like Christmas, I got sick like just after the break, Christmas break, and I haven't been able to shake it. I still got that that lingering.
I think it's just going around, bud. I had a 5-day cold where obviously couldn't even understand my own voice, and now it's the eyeballs. So if you look at the eyes, they're.
Are you wearing a Poliquin sweater?
Poliquin, I love them. Yeah,
that's a nice sweater.
It is a nice sweater.
Did you make that lace thing in the middle, or did it come like that?
It came with the lace.
Really?
I tied a bow today.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, Poliquin. He's
got the biggest arms in the world. It's crazy.
Charles Poliquin was one of my. I would consider him a mentor, even though I've never met him. I read all his books. I like listening to his podcasts. I like he's a very intelligent person, and in some ways, I would say in many ways, changed my life without ever meeting the guy. His books are awesome. And it was like when he was in the fitness industry, there's a lot of people that follow him now that have gone on to do great things. Like, okay, so I know Gary Roberts, when he was rehabbed, he went through Poliquin, and I know based on, you can see it in his programs, that he's followed a lot of Poliquin stuff. And the guy's a genius, right? And he was like years and years and years ahead of his time. There's Ben Prentice. Do you ever hear that name? He's a hockey fitness trainer. He did other things. He was another one that followed Poliquin, just years and years ahead of his time. It had so many Olympic athletes, hockey players, and his principles actually work. So when I was done playing hockey, I wish I would have known about him before, but that was the time he was breaking in. When I was done hockey, and I had a couple of years where I didn't know what to do. I don't mean not what to do. I was like, fitness wasn't my number one priority, because I was just trying to figure out life. That I got back into fitness, and I was like, I was older now, so I decided to read, for the purpose of learning fitness and stuff. That's a weird sentence, right? Anyways, I came across articles from him, and I go, this guy seems like he's pretty smart. So I bought his book. Is it The Foundations of Poliquin Principles? I think it's called the Poliquin Principles.
Those thin ones?
Yeah. But the first one I read is like, it says a whole bunch of his principles put together. And I learned, there's one program that said if you wanted to, and he explained why, right? This program here will get you pretty jacked pretty quick and lose fat. Not that I was fat. I was like fat like I am now. Not that I was fat, but like, more chin. But so I put it together and just followed his eating, right? And basically he says, eat meat, eat veggies, and shut up. So that's what I did. And like it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like, actually, after about 2 weeks, I went out for lunch with someone that I worked with, and he goes, "Are you on something?" I go, "Nope," and I wasn't. He goes, "Holy, like you've changed like that." I go, "Yeah, I just cleaned up the diet." But anyways, it was all Poliquin. So anytime that I do a Poliquin, when I go like, and then it's funny. This is actually, I'm going on a different tangent. Guy's a genius. If you follow it, the closer you follow it to a T, the faster you'll get results. They work every single time, and then what happens is you think you're smarter than Charles Poliquin. And you start doing things on your own way. Oh, I'll just tweak this, tweak this. It's like, no, this is why he did it. This is why he's the best. Don't try to change it. So anyways, I'm actually, speaking of that, what I was doing is I told this to my wife last week, and I told this to students last week. And I might have said it on the podcast, but like it's more and more apparent. Like, you get to choose your morning. You get to choose your attitude every single day, right? And for me, I could be honest with everybody here. Like, in the last, I've probably been through a couple of these, but I sold my business last year, and then there was a period where it's like transition and stuff. And I've always stayed in the fitness, but like, and eating decent, but like for somehow, some weird way, it got away from me again. Not that I'm not working out, and not that I'm not eating healthy most of the time, but then it got away from me. Like my face is huge right now. I look like a tomcat right now, right? It's no good. It's not good, and I'm not happy. But here's the thing, right? It's the attitude every day is something you can change or you can choose, and you know it's easy, like when you're out of shape, to make excuses or to say I don't feel like it, because that's really what you do to yourself. And I look at it at the school here, and I look everywhere I go. Last night I was talking to a scout, said, "Hey, how you doing, man?" And he goes, "Oh, just I'm tired." It's like, that's a great way to start the conversation. You're tired. I'm just, you know what I mean? And I was watching the kids today again. Like, one of the kids said, "Oh, it's Monday though, coach." And I go, "That's you gotta. Why you? You don't need to talk like that. Because you actually build in. It's Monday, therefore I should have a shitty day, and you should expect things to be off. And things in the morning here today, we were missing pucks, and like it throws people's things off, attitudes off, because we got a bucket of pucks stolen or misplaced. So we're here with about 12 pucks for two teams. It's like, okay, so what do we do? We can't complain about the pucks. We can't complain it's Monday morning. Can't complain we're tired. You get to choose your attitude every single day. You really do. You get to choose your attitude every single day in every single situation. So when you get to choose your attitude, and you choose the right attitude, and you choose the right programming for the day, you know what typically happens is you have a better day. And I've always been conscious of that in my life. But now that I'm around people more, like, typically when I had my business, it was like
solo.
it was me, it was you.
Yeah, till 4 p.m.
Me, my wife.
Yeah.
She's all right. But no, but it was most of us all the time, and we were never miserable, and we never complained. Like, very, very seldom did I ever see you come in, probably overworked, busy with a shit of stuff, a bunch of stuff to do, and I never really saw you come in with an attitude like, "Oh, I just got all this stuff to do today," and like down, or find ways to be negative. I never really saw that. I don't know if you've seen that with me. You don't have to placate. No, because it's like, I chose to build this business when I had it as a business. I was thankful that I chose it, and I did fine. Right? Could I complain that I didn't have $1 billion? Yeah. But I could also be very thankful that I didn't have a job like most people. I got to choose, and it's the truth. I got to choose what I was able to do every day. I got to choose. So if there's something I didn't like, I was able to change it, or I was able to make it better, or was able to gas it. And I could choose my customers, all that kind of stuff too, to a certain degree. So I was very, very fortunate. So since I sold the business and I'm around people more, I become hyper aware of my personal attitude, because people can drag you down. And it's just the little things like, oh, Mondays. I hate Mondays. I hate mornings. I hate, there's no pucks. The kids tell you it's Monday. Well, we're tired. We played. And people have more excuses than a pregnant nun all the time. And they're unaware, right? So I really choose to not have that attitude, or that energy come into this place. Because what happens is, if you go into it, then it's a bad day for everybody. Or people it's easy to, everything's like a domino effect, right? If you come in with a shitty attitude, or expecting bad things, or just want to complain, then the next guy, like, the easiest thing for people to do is to say, "Yeah, I know, it sucks."
That's contagious,
and then
man. Yeah.
30 people suck. Everything sucks for 30 people. So being a leader of this company or business, I think it's actually important for me to remind people that it's like, you get to choose how you're going to respond to things, man. And like the kids on the ice, when they don't, like, they can say Monday morning, "I'm tired," this, that, the other thing. It's like, you know what? It's just a choice, though. You can still execute, and you can still look at maybe we can slow it down, but you can still look at a drill as being something that's going to benefit you. And you can always look at this as you are doing what you want to do. Like there's not one person working in our place who is one of our coaches or the coaching staff that can sit here at the end of the day and say, well, there's something better out there for work. Like this is the best. And you chose it, and you're getting to do hockey, which is a hard job to get. If you get paid even reasonable, which everybody here gets paid reasonable, should be very, very thankful, very, very happy. So let's make the best of that every single day. And as students as well, right? You get to come in here, and I understand familiarity breeds content. Is that what the word is? Right? Yeah. You get used to something all the time, and it's just like another day. But it's like if they really thought about how fortunate they were every day to come in here, start your day off with a hockey and a workout, then go to school. I mean, I don't think there's that many bad days, right? So you get to choose that, and I'm a big proponent of actually being aware of that, especially being around people that are not hyper motivated, right? Being like, and I say that not as a asshole or arrogant. I say that as a guy that is a self starter. That if people only knew, like anybody, if people only knew when I started my business to now, the ups and the downs and the stuff that I would never reveal to people because they had to deal with me every day, that I was having a really bad day or I was in a really rough time. You just don't say it. You deal with it and you work hard and you put a smile. You don't have to put a smile, but you have the right attitude, right?
Yeah. I feel like it's, we were talking about this a little bit over the weekend with like some of my family members too, just like there's something about the energy. You say this all the time too, like the energy you put out, and like it really does make a difference. And there's something weird about how it interacts with other people. We were talking about in the conversation of like, we don't know, like, we were having like a big deep discussion in the living room about like nobody really knows what's going on in life, like, you know what I mean, like you don't know the reasons why things happen or like what's going to happen next, or and we were talking about interacting with other people and how you can't explain like certain feelings you have towards other people or certain behaviors that people bring out of you or whatever. Like when you and I are together, I'm way more of a goof than I would be otherwise, in terms of like keeping it light, joking around, high energy, like loud, like that very eccentric way of being. Like you bring that out of me more than anybody else. And I don't, and I could say it's because you have that, but I don't really know why, right? Because I could just as easily be like, dude, get this guy out of my face. This guy rubs me the wrong way, like whatever. And I don't. It's the opposite of that, And so we were talking about things in that way, but with the attitude stuff, it only really counts for me when it's hard to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to have a good attitude when it's easy to have a good attitude, Like it's easy to have a good attitude when you just had a hat trick the night before and you had a full night of sleep and you got to come into school a little bit late and sleep in and all this stuff, and you come in and everything's perfect and it's like, now I'm in a good mood now. It's like that's when it's the easiest time to do it.
Well, it's always easy to do it when it's easy.
And when it's not easy, like even for me, that's something I'm more and more aware of, like every day that we're here. It's like when it's really not easy and it's really a grind, like still making sure that you can deliver the things you need to deliver when you're interacting with, the people who you're going to affect with, for me, my job and like what the tasks are that I need to do. And that's when it like really counts. That's when you choosing your attitude in those moments really shows the kind of person that you are. And those are the kinds of people like for me, like I would seek those people out and do anything for those people. Like those are the people that you want around to help you like build a business or build your team or, in any situation that requires an extra set of hands. Like that's the kind of person that everybody's looking for. When you go in for a job interview or you're, trying out for a team or you go in to interview with a coach or a scout or whatever, it's like they're looking for those types of people. They're looking for personality. They're looking for, an attitude that will uplift the people around them, even if they don't say as much. Even if that isn't a thing that is on the job description or the coach doesn't explicitly say that to you or whatever. It's like that's something that everybody's looking for. And if you can choose to do that, then in the moments when it's difficult to do it, that is what makes you like very, very valuable in a lot of different situations. If you can really bring like that I don't want to say positive because it doesn't have to be positive necessarily, but just a good uplifting energy to the room that you're in, you know?
Yeah, the thing is, like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be positive, but I think there is more of a positive spin on it. But the thing is when when you have to do hard things, or like what you have to realize also, like as I've watched you do hard things through our business, through your school, and through this current business right now, where it's like the starting part, and it's everything is nothing's ever easy, and you don't have to have a like a you don't have to pretend everything's great, but if you do the work, like again, if you look back and say like, first of all, like it's maybe the most negative positive thing you could say is like could be worse, right? Could be worse. Like you could be doing this and you can't you're away from fitness, you're away from BioSteel, you're away from hockey, you're doing it, for car bumper company.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Exactly.
that fun?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
for sure.
And you're not around anybody that's like-minded. So like it always could be worse. But the thing is like it's never permanent either, unless you choose to be in that permanent state of just shit. So like you go through the hardest times, like, here's an example, okay? Here's an example. I love this. We'll just turn this into hockey. Don't know if I'm allowed to say this because they're friends of ours, but I'm going to say it anyways. So one of Charlie's ex teammates and one of his very, very, very best friends in the whole entire world is his name is Braden Bowman. So Bonesy was, let's say, okay, so when he was drafted to the OHL, I think he was a 5th or a 7th round pick. So it's not the earliest. Okay.
Or could be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah, see, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Kid loves hockey. He got some skill. His first year with the Storm was Charlie's first year, but yet he's 2 years older, almost 3 because of Charlie's like a late birthday. But anyways,
That was his first year too?
yeah, because
Really?
COVID kicked the shit out of his first
That's
year.
right. Yeah.
So Bonesy, so a little story here. Bonesy, when we brought Charlie to his camp, after the day we picked him up because he had to stay in a hotel the first night before he moved into his billets. So as soon as we were pulling into the hotel, Bonesy called Charlie and said, "Hey, do you want to come out with the boys for?" How do you say it? It was funny, like hockey terms too, eh? No, it was at night. It was anyway. He went out and they went out and had dinner. He came back, made Charlie feel very good. Charlie was 15 years old. This guy was 18 years old. 17. Yeah, he was 18 years old. 18-year-old asked me to come out with the veterans. Wow. So they were tight like that. They like for years. They talk every day still. So, anyways, this guy scored 30 to 40 goals every year as a right winger, and was never drafted. Never went to the prospects game. Didn't have all those nice shiny toys given to him, right? So he finished off as an overage and was like this close to going to University of New Brunswick. But like, this might be a weird thing to say, but it's not. Most guys that are hockey players don't want to go to school after. Like that's not the end result was not to go to school. Like, you know what I mean?
They want to pursue it, man.
He wanted to pursue it. So like to look and say that the dream was over, but he had a couple little options and he was waiting. And of course you want to get drafted. You want to sign somewhere. You want to get drafted, be an assistant, but he wasn't. Nonetheless, he signed, I don't know if it was a 1 or 2 year deal with Henderson Silver Knights, which are American League team for Las Vegas, for Vegas. So he had a great year. He's third on the team in scoring as a rookie. 2 days ago, he signed his ELC at 21 years old or 22 years old. So he got an ELC, which is your entry level contract. So it's the attitude going in. I could tell you one thing: that kid worked hard. That guy never stopped shooting pucks and doing this thing and this skill stuff. He got himself in I think in pretty good shape. And then he had an attitude like I'm not gonna stop. So like it would have been easy for him to go to school or have a shitty diaper because he didn't get drafted, because it's the hard way, man. It's just the hard way. And you're watching kids, like he's probably watching guys that he knows he's better than sign a deal, just like many kids do. It's like but at the end of the day, it's not permanent if you don't want it to be. And he worked his ass off, and now he signed an ELC. So what's the difference now? Right? What's the difference? So the kid that gets drafted in the first round, second round, or third round, or whatever in the NHL, they get more of a secure. They know what path, what team, and there's a more of a path with Braden. What I like about that is he did it the hard way. It's the hard way. I don't know if that's what it means, but he did it the hard way. There was no direct path to get there. He kept him wondering, but he kept doing the work. And
It's definitely not the easy way.
it's not the easy way.
Yeah.
And good for him. And who knows, man? Like, well, I forget what I was going to say to wrap that up, to be honest with you.
That's okay. So like the one thing that I find interesting though is this: as human beings, there's the tendency to want, and like would know this even better than I would, about like everyone wants to talk about how they got screwed and shit, you know. And there's like this self-loathing that people just want to buy into, like the negative, like bitch about this and bitch about that. And I don't know why that's such a tendency that people, not, I don't want to say people, even for me, like anyone, it's just very easy to go that way. It's very easy to get into the, you know, well, I didn't, for Braden, for example, like, oh, I didn't get drafted. Like I should have, like my numbers were good enough. Like somebody screwed me for some reason and I didn't get it. And then goes up to whatever Vegas's farm team and could have just been like poopy pants about it, or could have looked at it as this is the end of the road and like whatever. But instead, if I would assume, based on the year that he's having so far, he must be feeling pretty good about, you know, trying to pursue and go after it and whatever. And then was, you know, rewarded for doing that. And so somewhere in there, kind of, I guess, like to your point about attitude, like he made a choice somewhere in there of like, I'm going to look at it this way instead of this way, you know, whether he, I don't know, like what level of depth he has in his mind to like have consciously said, I'm going to choose this instead of this, but he's acting that way. And that is something that has paid off for him now.
I look at it also. There's a good book. I was telling the kids they should read this. It's the book called There's No Plan B in Your A Game. And it's a really good thing. I think that might have been his thing too. It's like, I think for some guys, if you really, really believe, and I don't mean this advice for everybody, but I guess I do, is if you really like, there's a base, you gotta have the base level of being a hockey player, right? But I would say that I said this to my son too. I said nothing has to change your end goal, right? A scout, 32 scouts, and that's Braden. That's just going through the OHL, like in the few years that I've seen that stand out to me. Number one, Arbour Jackeye, never drafted in either the OHL or the NHL, having a fine career. Ty Cartier and Rory Cairns. Cairns might have been drafted to Calgary, but I don't think he was. If he was, it was a very late pick, and they were late picks in the OHL as well. And they signed NHL deals. Logan Morrison, free agent signing, and it goes on and on. Then you see Bonesy and other guys, they sign NHL deals, and I think for like Bonesy, if I watch his trajectory here, it's like I think there was that fork in the road where Plan B is expected. People are expecting you to go to Plan B. What is Plan B? And a lot of times people are asked, and when people mention that to, like, okay, I just got to talk about my kid again. You know, I told him, I said, if you have Plan B, then you will never be a pro hockey player. And that might sound ridiculous to some parents. Really don't care. It's my kid. I'm giving him advice that I feel is necessary, but I do know that if you have a Plan B, then you can't focus on Plan A. Right? It's okay to say, like, if things don't work out, like Plan B might not. If the NHL is like getting short term, Plan B might be going another avenue, but it doesn't really change that unless you're 73 in diapers and you still think you're playing in the NHL, then maybe you're dumb. But like, you have to give yourself a Plan A, maybe even to a certain amount of time, and nothing else matters. Because I think if Bonesy, and I'm just thinking out loud, is that if he would have said, okay, well, it doesn't look like I didn't get drafted, I didn't, whatever, but the chances are slim for me to go there, and the school wants me to go there, so maybe I'll just go to school and maybe start my second career. Like, you've already tipped the scales to I'm failing, right? Whereas he said, no, I'm going to go to the American League. Yeah, I'm going to sign this deal. I'm going to work my way up. And this is just a different path to get there. And I think, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. Some guys just don't know the difference and they're playing and it just works out. But I think that if you close the door on Plan A and you start looking at Plan B, then you start to go sideways a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's like a thread through this too of just like, whatever you want to call it, like if you want to call it like resilience or mental toughness or whatever. And it's like, it is, that quality is just like so absent in so many kids that we talk to, like just, and you know, it's funny because it doesn't take a lot from what I can tell, to get kids to start trying to be resilient or try to be a little bit tougher mentally, like they don't need a whole lot of encouragement to go that direction, but it's like they've just never heard it ever before. Or like they've never been given that, like, yeah, like you'll be fine, work through it. Like I did it like I had 4 or 5 examples of this just like in the last few days. Like I was on the bench and one of the kids got hit like kind of weird, whatever, and he was like kind of having a little bit of a baby tantrum on the bench about it. And I was like looking and I was like, you're playing a tough sport, man. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna cry? You're gonna sit here and cry about it? You're in the wrong game, dude. And like, but right away, I see the light in the kid's eyes a little bit, and it was like no one has said that to him before. It's like so either it's like it was a situation of like coddling where as soon as the kid has a complaint, it's like, oh yeah, like you're right, like that was bullshit and this and that and whatever. And it's like that little bit of tough love, It's like I don't see the kids getting that. I really, really don't see them getting it. And just a little bit of it really, really acts quickly from what I can tell, specifically with like the teenage boys, for example. They have like a little calling to want, like they want to do these things. Like they want to be brave and tough and like, most of these kids that we teach or coach or whatever, they're inclined to want to be like a little bit of like that badass kid that like everybody has respect for and is a little bit intimidated by, and they want some of these qualities. And it's like as soon as you give them a little encouragement towards it, like they want it right away. But before they get to that point, like I talk with some of these kids and it's like they've never heard this information before. Like they've never heard it, dude, tough it out, it's okay. Or like everything's made to be a really big deal when like these things aren't that big of a deal, and they only need a little bit of it. And I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know why, if it's just even the parents themselves, like you've been saying the last few weeks, like some of them have never been punched in the face and they just don't know what that means to try to be resilient and battle back from things and try to actually solve their problems and not escape their problems and kick it under the rug and let it build into something bigger. Like you've talked a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Jordan Peterson thing about the dragon, like you just let it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and never really deal with it. And maybe because a lot of parents are like that, it translates down and they try to, shield their kids from this stuff. And it was so funny. Like my mom, I'm just going on a tear here, right? My mom was saying to me yesterday, like she'll send me like these DM videos on Instagram here and there of just like some, not like a motivational speech necessarily, but just someone, whether it's like someone in business or someone, whatever, just giving like a good like word of encouragement about some topic, right? And she came across this one guy, I forget his name, but she was sending me like a couple of his clips and she was talking to me about it the other day. And when she sees me going through life and trying to navigate figuring it out, just like any parent would. And she's like, it's so funny. Like I was listening to this video from this guy and he was talking about how, like parents, like, don't give your kids all the answers, like don't make it easy and give them everything that they need all the time, because they don't learn how to solve problems and how to build some of these tools into their being so that they can go and deal with things. And she was like, when I watch you doing the things that you're doing and like when struggles come up or whatever, I just want them to not be there, like as a parent, which I'm sure you can relate to. But she always goes to, but I know that that's not the right thing to do. So I have to let myself like feel the pain as your mom because I want to be able to take that stuff away from you just so that you can go through the struggle because I know that that's actually better for you in the long run. And it's like, wow, like, hey, thanks, mom.
No,
thank you.
It's the
right?
truth though. It's the truth. So just I don't know which way I should go with this, but I'll start with this. Pigs don't know that pigs stink.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You walk through life and you don't know actually what's going around until something happens to you. So my kid he's got my wife's car up in Guelph right now. Called the other day and the car got broken into. He's like, he wasn't freaked out. He thought.
That's something new.
Yeah. Called and is like, Mom, someone broke in the car. I don't know what to do. They took some of my golf clubs, this, that, like weird stuff. He goes like, he thought he was an idiot. And now it's a concern. My point of telling you, of saying that is because I told him after, because he said, no, how am I going to get my golf clubs back and stuff? It's like, well, you're going to have to pay for it. Right. He goes, yeah, I guess. But like, and he was like, well, this is bull. Like, I'm not talking like he's a little wiener. He was like, okay, it hit him because now he's got some responsibility in this and he's learned. And I told him when he felt about it, I said, yeah, you could. Remember one time I got 10 grand stolen on my car? He goes, yeah, because I don't know, someone that was in my car, my wife, him, someone else didn't lock it. And it was by the rink and someone went and got 10 grand that I was going to the bank with. It hurts. But if it's not you that it hurts, is you just go, oh, that sucks. But now it hit you. Now you understand what it feels like to get broken into. Now when mom and dad say, I'm not talking like it anybody, is lock the door, lock the door, lock the door. And you go as a kid go, ah. Now it affects you. Now you actually care. It's the only way that you know what a banana tastes like is by eating a banana. Can't explain it, right? Pigs don't know pigs stink. You don't know until you get away from it, you come back and ooh.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
They don't know they stink.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're looking at kids, going back to your thing is I'm the exact same thing with all our kids, grandkids. So you don't want them to hurt. But I know, like, especially going through the hockey thing is the one thing I can experience. I know there's days, I told you this a long time ago. The kid moves away from home at 16 years old. People think, oh, wow, what a success story for kids, and they should be real happy. It's like, no. Kid, your son has just moved away at 15, 16 years old. It's good, but it's like there's a lot of issues that come with that, and you'll never know until you go through it. The kid will never know until you go through it. Those lonely nights, so as a parent, you hurt for them because that was my experience, right? You're a 15, 16-year-old kid moved away from home. There's one. Number two, you're not going to be getting the top ice time. Not possible. So there's two. You want to fit in. There's three. Like there's all these things that keep popping up that you got to solve. And I wish I could take him every day and just say, okay, here's what's going to happen today. Here's how you deal with that. But you can't. Got to navigate it himself. He's got to feel like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That was, now I'm trying to fit in. Now I'm like more of a dink, or you stepped in at the right time and like you gained respect. Maybe you went and you went and fought someone for someone else. It's like you gain respect, or maybe you turtle against someone because you didn't know if you should be brave or not. You feel that for your kid. But either way, like as a parent, you're feeling goes and fights someone that's older, bigger, and possibly stronger, and he does well. You're proud, but you're scared as a parent. If he gets his ass kicked, you feel for him because he got his ass kicked and he's embarrassed. All these different emotions, right? It's a tough thing. So to your mom's point is, yeah, they have to go through it themselves, 100%. But then going on the other side of this is when you said that you see that kids aren't as resilient as you think they maybe could be or should be or whatever, or you just see it like there needs to be a little.
Yeah, it seems like they haven't heard this before.
Okay, so why would they? Like if you think about it, or if you watch our crazy hockey world, and this is maybe not as bad as the other world, I don't know, but in our hockey world, like what do people do, right? They chase teams. They don't. I'm not saying they is everybody, but like a common thing is like when things don't go your kid's way, you complain, you write a complaint to the board, to the coach, you need a meeting, you want it to be fair. You change teams, you look for something better all the time, right? And when you're always chasing for something better, it's usually never happening, right? So like that's why I think hockey or sports in general are so important if you use it the right way. Because it's not fair. Whether you could be the best player in the world, and if a coach decides that he doesn't like you and gonna maybe treat you less than what you should be, then it becomes unfair. But is unfair good or bad? It's not bad. It's not good. It's not bad. It's what you do with it. It's how you deal with that situation, and that's your opportunity to show somebody that, like Bonesy, 32 teams said you're not draftable for 3 years. 3 years. 32 teams. That's 92 times. It's 96. 96 times people said he's not good enough to play on my team. But you fight through it and you find a way to show them. And maybe instead of pulling your kid from a team and going somewhere else and chasing something that could be better. Maybe you just sit down and say, okay, what like legit, I'm not just making this up, right? Like what if we go over here, is that going to be better? If we stay here, is that going to be better or worse? Like no one really knows, but and then look at yourself and say, like, is it me? Is it them? Is it good for like there's always good in things as well. So anyways.
But I'm not, like my confusion, like all that stuff is, I get all that stuff, but maybe I was just very fortunate that my parents were the way they were. Whereas like I remember from the time I was like when I was a little kid, like I remember being a little kid and my parents they would say things to me about just like understanding how life works, like much like you, right? Like they sprinkle in the little like, well, you can't do this because if you keep doing that, then this is going to happen and you won't like that, you know? And like they just figured out ways to equip me with some tools to deal with like things that aren't great. And like I had an like some people have built-in struggles in their life when they're a kid, like you, where it's like life is just hard, you know? I didn't have that. Like I had a very, very good childhood. Like I had parents that got along. I had like there were 4 siblings. We had enough food to eat. I could go into activities. I never had to take. I could totally take for granted the fact that I'll have a bed to sleep in tonight. I didn't have to worry about nothing. So when these things happened in my life that through sports or through school or through where there was like a little bit of what's the term, adversity or something like adversity, my parents made sure like they leaned into it a little bit, you know? They took advantage of the fact that okay, this is a bit of a struggle and like I need to make sure my kid learns how to figure this out. And I remember that happening when I was little. You know, and I take maybe I take for granted that my parents that's just common, like that parents should just be doing that. And I think maybe that's my gap where like I look at some of these kids and I'm like, how are your parents not doing this? Like, how are they not helping you to see that this is a time where you need to be a little bit mentally tough, you know? And there were plenty of times where like something bad actually happened and my parents would come in and be like, yeah, like that's bullshit. Like, we're going to help you fix this problem now. And they were there for me as parents, you know? But then I also got the other side where it's like, no, like you need to check yourself. Are you doing everything you can to make sure that you're not in the position you're in? You know, you need to go talk to your teacher. You need to go talk to your coach. You need to go figure this out. Like, you need to do better with your training, your workouts, spend more time on it, do your homework, study. Like, I was constantly getting both, you know, and like maybe I just, I was very lucky that they struck a good balance where I feel like now where I am today, I can deal with some of this shit that happens as an adult now. But I don't see it. Like I don't see it with some of the young kids. Some of them I do, but it's very, very few, you know, and maybe that's just the law of averages. Like you're looking for people that are exceptional and there's just not that many people that are exceptional. And maybe that is a quality of being exceptional. I don't know. Maybe resilience is a quality of being exceptional and not a baseline quality or something, you know?
Yeah. It's like almost saying like everybody should be a captain. You can only have so many
right?
captains.
And that's maybe
the reason certain guys are captains and guys never can be.
Exactly.
Right.
And maybe my expectation is not reasonable, but it just seems like such a good thing that, you know, like not everyone's going to go be a hockey player. I know that, right? I get that. And I'm very aware of that. And I try to coach with that in mind, like prepare them for life, not just for hockey. But when I hear them speak or see how they behave or see like the things that they think they can get away with or whatever, it's like there's certain qualities that are just universal, you know, that are good for everything. And like some of them I don't, like this might be the only place they get any of that input, you know? And these aren't kids that are like they're not bad kids and they're not criminals. They're not criminals. They don't have like bad lives at home from like what we can tell from as much as we can tell interacting with them, right? Like they all come from good families. Like we know the parents and all this stuff. And then it's just, we get into crunch time. And as soon as there's like a little bit of crunch time that happens, then you start to see, you know, it starts to come out.
You know, I think that's a question that if parents are honest, because I'm honest, like me and Christine try to be honest with raising our kids and particularly our youngest one that is a hockey player because he's actually accomplishing something in hockey. It's not like a fairy tale Adam Peavy 12-year-old thing. It's like, right, he got to a point. So we're very careful too right now, but we check in, right? We ask ourselves every day, did we give him the tools to survive this? Do we give him the tools to, if he moves away on his own, like which could be next year, like, I mean, he moved away a long time ago, but on his own, can he, I know it sounds silly, but it's a legit question. Is he going to be smart enough to make his own freaking meal 3-4 times a day?
Yeah.
Or is he going to, no, really, but, or is he going to take, if, you know, when he's making his money, is he going to take that money and go out and eat every day and spend it? Like, did we do a good enough job? We hope we did. We think we did. Did we teach him a little bit about when you make money, like how it works? No one taught me. And that's not my parents were idiots or anything. It's just no one taught me.
Yeah.
But the question is, who knows?
Right.
So when we try to look for, when you try to look for leaders and you try to look for people that are resilient and people that have all their, which we call it getting to have your shit together, like a lot of it does. And this is where I say I like to check in with myself and be honest. So like I'm not saying this to say most parents are dumb. I'm saying this because I just think the one thing that my wife and I do well to raise 3 kids that are fairly successful is that we check in with ourselves to make sure that we are somehow an example for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not saying you can do everything wrong and not have a leader or have a kid that has their shit together, because they might look at you and go, in spite or despite everything you do, might become successful. But the odds are a little kind of stacked against you, right? But if you do come home, right, like, and I know it sounds so ridiculous, but like some people come home, I've always said this, like, go walk, a hockey player comes home and his dad's on the couch reading the newspaper or watching TV, and then he says, you need to work harder in hockey, but you're on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't watch TV. I'm just saying you're always on the couch. Are you ever reading a book on a couch? Are you ever doing anything? Are you ever got a pen and paper in your hand, figuring something out and like thinking? Does he ever see you do that? Does he ever see you do you ever go to the gym, or do you ever go for a run where you come back and go, oh, I just didn't feel like it today, that you set an example for your son or daughter to be successful, like something that they could go, well, dad's got a little bit of jam to him here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you, when you sit around the table, like just pay attention to your conversations? Are you talking about, like, because this is the thing, right? Like this is a thing I read a long time ago, and it's very true. You hang around with people, there's basically three types of people. Some people are in the parade. Some people watch the parade. Some people say, is there a parade? Where? Right?
Yeah.
And the leaders are the one that are in the parade. They're doing things, they're accomplishing things, and and what happens is they're busy, like, to coin a story here. They're busy. Okay, why is it a parade? That's what it is. But they're busy organizing it. They're getting people together. They're involved. They're making decisions, and they put their investment into that. The average people, right? Average people are the ones that go and watch it because they need to be entertained. And that's what a lot of people do. They're not involved in any sort of fight anywhere. They just like to get entertained. So if you look at people, it's like, okay, when's the next hockey game? When's the next party? When's the next Super Bowl thing? When's this? It's like, entertain me and make me feel good about myself so I can talk about other things. So what I do is I talk about events, talk about the hockey game, I talk about other people. That's what the average people do. So like if you've got leaders that are doing the stuff, the average people are the ones that are talk about it and watch about it and judge it and have something to say about it, but they never really invest themselves. And then the losers are just like, what's going on? Like, and that's okay. But then, so when you think about it, like, average is average. So if you're taking 20 kids on a hockey team, there's maybe they come from good families or whatever, but there's still going to be an average there, right? And from what I see, there's not a ton of parents that are really dialed in and having good nutrition at home, right? There's not. There's some, obviously there's some, but good nutrition at home, and add exercise, and add a good career, and add investing in themselves, and add resilience to whatever. So your kids are going to be somewhat of a reflection of what the parents are, right? So if you just look at your household, you got 4 very successful people that came from your mom and dad. And like you said, it wasn't because they let you struggle, they let you do things, but you saw your dad, your mom build a business. You saw them work late hours. You saw them have their ups and downs. You see your dad thinking things like, how can I make this better? It's called resilience. Whereas if you work on the line at a plant, or you do something where it's a mindless job, not hey, it's all good. But that's, if you're not using the 6 inches between your ears and you're not solving problems, it turns to mush very, very quickly. Right. And I noticed that with myself, like since I've not had my business, without having the stress of not caring, I care so much, but caring about, like, if I don't do this, or my reputation and all this stuff, now it's in someone else's hands a little bit. So I've had to adjust that to keep my brain sharp. Because if not, without having a stressor or something like that pushing me, like even getting to the gym as regular I shouldn't say that. It kind of just, one thing starts to go, another thing starts to go, another thing starts to go. Then
It's leaky.
next thing you know, everything leaks all over the place and you become a different person. So it's like, you got to be busy. You got to be busy with the brain. You got to make sure that it's the train with a purpose, live with a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, then like what is the purpose, right? Like, I want to be able to, have my wife be proud of me when I walk down the street with her. I don't want her to. I actually, it's just a real thing. I don't want people to say, "Wow, he's put on some serious beef,"
Yeah.
or he looks like he's,
Yeah.
he let her go, right? I don't want that to happen. I want my wife to be able to walk and say, "Yeah, that's my husband," and I want my son to say, "That's my freaking dad, man." It's not like, "Yeah, my dad's it's a mess." I don't want to be falling down drunk at a hockey game. Like, I don't want to be the scene, So it's like kind of being aware of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Long sentence.
But but the stressors that you're pointing out, that's what sharpens all those skills, right? Like, you need a stressor. It's like with fitness, like anyone that knows anything about exercise, why it's good is it stresses your body to adapt. Like, you need those inputs in other areas as well. And like, I'm trying to be, when people listen to me talk, because a lot of the people that are actually the vast majority of people that listen to this are older than me, like substantially. So like, I'm not trying to come across like,
but you're allowed to have an observation.
But okay, but my question is, because I'm not a parent, right? And so I'm trying to be as humble as possible coming to the table to talk about this kind of stuff, because I don't have a child, so I don't know what I'm gonna do when I have a child. I know what I think I'm gonna do, but who knows until you actually have the thing, right? So for you, I guess maybe this would help me get like more perspective on it. So you have your kid in your mind when you first had Charlie Boy. Was it like, what the hell am I going to do as a dad? Did you already have a plan? Did you know what you wanted to teach and how you wanted to teach it? Did you figure it out as you went? Like, how did you know to do what you did? Like, because you did a lot of the things that I'm talking about, I feel like you did a lot of the same things my parents did, And like, how did you know that? Like, how did you know where the line was and how to, poke here but not poke there, and push a little bit here but not push a little bit there? Like, what was the process from like day one when he first came out? Like, how did you figure that out?
Well, honestly, I'm writing a journal every day, not every day, pretty much every day about this process, and pretty cool, because it's an amazing thing. And the process is just basically like, number one, and it involves every step of the process. It's just pure love. That's all it is. It's pure love. It's pure love. Like, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. As weird as that might sound, everything is just pure love. And from love, when you have a child, and I would say it's the same as coaching. I always say coaching and parenting and coaching are the same thing. If you can coach like and like with care, you've got a good grasp on parenting. Seriously, because so anyways, first thing is love, like number one, and then after that is like, to me, is common sense. If I just knew that if he bumped his head, or I didn't worry about, and my wife was great too, so she might have helped me, but I actually don't think so. I think it would have been the same anyways. Is if he bumped his head at 2 or 1 or 6 months or 6 days, it's fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, because I kind of knew how evolution works. And no, really, I'm not even joking. Evolution, I don't think everyone got coddled on the way up. That's how you survived, right? The tougher things have happened, right? When they cried, my kids cried at the first, like when they're babies, it wasn't like, oh my God, they're gonna cry, man. That's how they communicate. It's okay. feed them. I didn't worry about feeding them too much or too little. Like everything's going to be fine. And then it was all from love. So it'd be like, hold them. And a lot of people say, you kiss them too much. You kiss your kids too much. I go, yeah. So mind your own business. Who cares? Right. They've just been showing love. And then they trusted in me, I think. Right. But anyways, it was like never, it was common sense. I talked to my son and my daughter and my other son as they were adults since day one. I didn't ever say, would you, I don't know, like make goo goo, like when they were little babies, it was fun. I just joke around. But when I spoke to them, it was like, I spoke to them like a human. That's all. And I expected things from them. And then we wanted them to, shovel the driveway. Shovel the driveway. Well, too bad. Like, shovel it. Why do I have to? Right? Or why? Like, not why do I have to, but like, shovel the driveway. It's not going to kill you because you understand that people need pushes and nudges to do things, right? And and then it was respect people, and love things, right? Like respect was a big thing, and then be passionate about things that you're doing. And passionate's a weird thing to say, but honestly, do it and do it well. Like try your best. Find something you love.
What do you think the role of like asking questions played in it? Because like I'm thinking about even with like my parents, I wouldn't go back and say like my parents were constantly asking me questions, but they would say things to make me question things. So maybe they didn't explicitly ask me like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" or "What do you think about that?" Like you've given the example before where you talk about like judging people. Like if you're, you came across somebody with any of your kids that you'd be like, "Oh, what do you think of that guy?" or like, or "How did you think that was?" or whatever. I don't remember my parents necessarily doing that, like explicitly asking me a bunch of questions, but they would lead me down the path that made me ask a question myself of like, why is this like this or why is this like this? I also remember having a little bit of a natural, like I had an inclination to question things also a little bit. But what role do you think that, like, do you think that was a critical piece to helping them prepare, like to deal with some of this stuff? Or like how did you get them to think about things, I guess?
100%. But it's no different than, like, that's what I'm saying. Coaching is hockey. Coaching is parenting. Parenting is hockey. Coaching. You dump the puck in instead of carry it, let's say. Whatever. I'm just making something. You do something on the ice and I go, okay, in that situation, you got to go here, here, and here because of this. Oh, okay. Every time I do that to you, it doesn't, all you're doing is you're not thinking for yourself, right? So if I go, Eric, what did you see on that play? Then first of all, that's opening communication, teaching you how to speak. It's teaching you to recognize something, maybe, and maybe it's putting on a spot, all kinds of different things. So I thought two guys were coming at me, so I didn't have room and I didn't see a play. So I threw it in the corner. And okay, well, okay, at least I know what you're thinking. Now I could teach you something. Okay, is there anything that we could have did differently if we did that again? Then you say, yeah, maybe I could have, whatever, right? I don't even know what the scenario is. I'm just making it up as I go. But maybe I could have done this, or no, that was a good decision. Oh, okay. Getting you to explain your thoughts is huge. And for many, many, many reasons, right? So, but if I can get you to explain and come up with your own solution, then you're better off than me telling you every single time. So that's what I would say if you got a kid, is like, what is a solution? Like, what is something that you could have done other than that? So, as I've always said, hey, Dad, there's a dance on Friday night that all the kids are going to. So I could say, yeah, well, you're not going because it's not good for you. That doesn't help them. Or, yeah, go ahead because I guess you get to make all the decisions. That doesn't help them either. So the question always was, cool, do you think you want to go? I don't know. Means yes. I want to be with my friends. That's what it means. I don't know. It means yes. So, okay, so let's just think of what you got for the weekend. What do you have this weekend, son? I've got a game Saturday and I've got a practice, whatever. I got these two things. Okay. So who's going to be there? Then he starts going, everybody. Well, who are you going to hang out with? Is everybody. And then you start narrowing it down to people and then they're coming to their own conclusions. Okay. So I'm going to let you make your decision. Then you're going to find out if it's good or bad or if it's indifferent. I love that. So there's going to be most of the people that go there that I hang out with and blah, 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 and it'll be good. And I could come home at a good time. It should be fine. And it's worth it. Then make that decision. Or it's Friday night I play at 2 o'clock on Saturday. So okay, if I come home at X amount of time, then I can get some sleep. But I'm going to be hanging around with people that whatever, and you come to a conclusion. Say, yeah, you know what? I'll just stay home because I got a game tomorrow and a practice. I need my rest. I need to eat well, right? So whatever decision they make is probably going to be fine. Just let them come to that conclusion on their own, and let them and experience it themselves, right?
Yeah, interesting. I was maybe kind of this to close her down. I was talking this morning. We did our like nutrition whatever lecture thing this morning, and they were asking me about going to fall asleep. And they were talking about like I had a hard time falling asleep last night. A couple of them, so I was going through kind of like different things to help them fall asleep. Right, like what can you do? So between like the shit like body temperature and get your phone away and try to get things out of your head and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, so a big one that a lot of them were saying was just like, oh, I'm keep thinking, like I can't stop thinking, right? And like for a lot of kids, like this might be maybe this is advice, I don't know, whatever. They don't know how to handle all the thoughts that they have, and like I remember being a teenager and it was the same kind of thing. Like there's so many questions, there's so many things you don't know, there's so many different scenarios that are happening, and there's as a teenager, like there's constant new input, right? Like everything is new all the time, from grade school to high school up until you're like in the end of high school, basically. And then even a little bit after that, it's like everything's kind of new all the time. So there's a lot of different things that you're constantly thinking about. There's a lot of unknowns. And we've talked about this a million times about mental toughness, like unknowns equals you're uncomfortable and nervous and all this kind of stuff. And so I was talking to them about in the context of going to sleep, how what can you do to try to calm your mind? So I'm asking them for ideas. What do you think you could do? Some say, oh, you could read. So we went down the road of, okay, if you're going to read, what kind of things do you want to read? Like, what's going to make you want to read? Most of them think that they don't like reading. And it's like, reading is fine. If you read a menu at a restaurant, you don't hate it. So it's like, it's not reading itself. It's what you're reading. Anyways, some of them said, doing some kind of like a meditation or visualization or something like that, that could help. And then we got to my favorite one. I know you're like this too, is actually like journaling and writing things down. And that one for a lot of kids could be very beneficial. And a lot of them think it's embarrassing and not cool. And one of the things, it was actually, I was directing more towards the girls I was chatting with today, because the one girl was talking about that. Like I had a hard time falling asleep. I keep thinking about stuff, whatever. And I was saying, get a book. Like you can go find really funky looking journal, a really cute looking journal that you like to look at the end of the night, and it'll make you want to write in it. And like go get one of those and just write brain vomit. It doesn't have to be anything coherent, even just write whatever you think, as much as you think. And like that's a protected place that you can put things down and get it out of your head, so you're not just spinning. And if you start writing things down, you'll get to a point writing where like you're done writing now. It's like, okay, I'm good there. Like I can stop there. And most of the time that'll help you to fall asleep. So with that, like bringing it back to kind of what we're talking about, to get kids to understand what they think about things, that's actually a really good strategy. So maybe as a parent, you're not a very good communicator yourself. Maybe you've identified that or have self-awareness about that. You don't think about things super deeply, or you don't know what questions to ask or whatever. That's another avenue where it can be really helpful for kids to try to understand what they think and like clarify what they think about things and how to find solutions to problems. Because a lot of times, like if you write things down, this is another Jordan Peterson thing, like writing is no different than thinking, right? You have to put things down on paper and you realize like, that sentence isn't exactly what I think, or this isn't exactly what I mean, or that's not really the right word to describe what I'm feeling and whatever. And you start to sharpen it over time, and then you can really figure out how to manage your own brain that way, right? You can start to understand how you think about things and why you think about things, and you get that little bit of like that, you're observing yourself think, right? You get that little bit of separation to have some awareness about your own brain. And that's like a good secondary option if you don't feel that you can do that yourself as the parent. Like if you don't feel that you can poke them the right way, or even if you can and you just want to give them another way to do it without you, that's a really good thing that you can try to do. Because I do that. I started doing that in high school, but I didn't tell anyone about it because I didn't think it was cool. But I still have these papers from high school, like just scribbling on lined sheets of paper, like random stuff about whatever I was thinking. I still have these papers. And like, that was the beginning of like starting to learn how to think, and actually sharpening up my own mindset about what's going on around me. And that all contributes to helping to build these qualities that we've been talking about for like an hour, So that's like another good kind of thing. Maybe you could point kids to if you feel like you might struggle with it as a parent, or you don't know what to say or what to do with it. Like that could be something to encourage them to do, or even do yourself. You know, if that's not something that you've done before, and like you don't really understand your own mindset. And like this is something that I am constantly grappling with, because I don't know what the hell's going on in here half the time. Like I need to sort my own mindset out on the daily. Like I have a really hard time managing my own mind. And like I feel like a lot of people have that, you know, so that might be like a good kind of thing to try, or maybe give your kids a push towards if you feel like they need something else.
It's like when I took the nutrition course from when I got my nutrition certificate.
The precision thing.
Yeah, precision nutrition was, at first it was like he could give you the answers why you eat. Right? This is why you eat. He could say this is why you eat. Number one, welcome to this course. This is why you eat, and this is why you eat this food. He doesn't do that. Gives you an exercise. First thing in the book is, I want you to think about what you feel like when you eat. What were you thinking about? What did you do? Because basically what he was saying, it was a mindset. Because if you know why you eat, if I could tell you what to eat, if you're tired and you've had a bad day and all these things that lead you to eating bad food at night, then me telling you what to do won't help you. If you understand and you write down or do this exercise to understand that it's eating is psychological a lot of times. It's like based on moods, based on boredom, based on stress, all these different things. If you know that, then you might, instead of grabbing the bag of chips and say, okay, I'm going to have these chips because I'm hungry or whatever, you might say, oh, just a second, why am I having these? I'm not hungry necessarily. I'm bored. Okay. Do you need to eat because you're bored? Well, you're better off, right? Just to know why you're eating something. So it's the same thing as everything else you do in life. If you actually have a clue why you do things, or you can think about it and you don't just react to stuff, then you're probably going to be a little bit farther ahead. Right. So like you look at a problem, take this full circle, look at a problem, like, right, you got resilience, like you said before. It's like, if you're actually aware of things, you can say, oh, am I quitting right now? Like, am I quitting right now? That's why it's good to do hard things once in a while, right? Like that's what I've always said. I say that to a lot of guys. I said the one exercise I did a long time ago was, and you were there that day when I did my 50th birthday, when I did 10 burpees per year. So it's fine. Yeah. So it's not a big deal. Like, no, it's hard, but it's not a big deal. But what it is a mental exercise. And you can do this with anything basically. But you looked at, I took them in blocks, and I said, well, I'm gonna get ahead of the game here. I'm gonna do 50 burpees to start off, and then I'll be ahead of the game. Well, that was a mistake, because you're really, really tired. So, but you look at each block and you go, holy shit, man, I did 50 burpees, and now I still got 450 to go, and I'm already gassed. So what happens is you can talk yourself out of it every step of the way until you change your attitude and say, okay, well, just what I can do right now, and this is like mental toughness, is you stay in the moment. And what can you do in the moment? Well, I know I might not be able to do 500 right now, but I know what I can do right now. I can do 1. And the block I have is to say do 10. So I'm going to try to do 10. And that's, you do 10. And then you are tired, and then you just do 10 more. And then you just do 10 more until you're done. And that builds resilience. And then it's funny, as I went along that, every block that I was doing, you get to the point where it's like halfway is like good, but halfway is like, oh man, it's only halfway. But as you start going along, you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You can see that you're going to accomplish something, right? And then all the lessons inside that, it hurts. Your mind's telling you no. Your mind's telling you to quit. You're like, why? This is stupid. It'll find every reason in the world to tell you not to do something that's really good for you, because of the pain involved, or what's another word for pain? Just the grind that's involved to get there. But then when you're done, you're so satisfied with it. You're so proud of yourself. So it's like teaching yourself to do that, right? Getting through harder times, getting through things that are uncomfortable. If you can do that, and you have a reference point, then like for me, I could always look at that and say, it's like, it's only 75 more burpees, man. Or right? Or no, you've done this before. Like, and that's one thing I've done, but you know what I mean? It's a reference point. That's why I think some people should do a hard thing, something hard. Like, for example, you don't have to do a marathon, but maybe do a half marathon. Maybe it's, I don't know, follow a program for 6 months or something like that, or 5 months. So you can follow something, see results, and then analyze what you did. Why did you quit in certain places? Why did you not quit in certain places? When things are hard, what do you do? Like, how do you talk to yourself? Like, it's important and it's good, and it'll only make it better, right?
Yeah. Cool. There we did it again. We did it again. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was a good talk. Yeah. Okay. Bye.